Welcome back, explorers. Okay, one of the first things I want to explore on this channel is how to make interesting images and animations using simple math. Now, I'm going to be using code to make the images, but the focus isn't really on the math and the code. It's more about finding some interesting results in how we use it and maybe discovering some techniques. So I have a really interesting image. It's a black image, okay? And a white image. Now, the black is simply a value of 0 for all the pixels, and white is a value of 1. And something in between, at half, we have a lovely gray color. So yeah, that's pretty exciting, huh? Well, we're keeping things simple right now so that we can kind of learn some techniques using the math. It's not about making something amazing right off the bat. So this is kind of a really basic video. Now, technically, pixels are red, green, and blue values. All of them together at the maximum, they make white, and all of them off obviously make black. But we're not going to get into color at this point. We're going to get into that more in depth in the future. So going back to the code, there's only a few things, well, really only two things that kind of come into the code to help us drive what's going to show up in the output image. I have a really simple one here. We just simply use the value of the time. Now, I mean, time is just indicating how far along in our animation we are. And the time, as it says in the comment here, goes from 0 to 1. Just like black to white goes from 0 to 1, time is going to go from 0 to 1. And so we end up with this wonderful animation when we just put the time in there of fading from black to white. Now, I promise it'll get more interesting. The next thing we have besides time, because I said there's only two things, is position. So this code here is basically using the x value, which is going left to right, and it's combining that with the time, so that if the x value is less than what the time value is, it's going to just use the x value. Otherwise, it'll use the time value, and we end up with this wonderful animation. And of course, we can do the same thing with the y value that goes from bottom to top. And really, that's about all we have is the x, the y, and the time. Now, if I don't put the time value in there, we can just create an image. So here's what it looks like when we take the x plus the y. What's actually going on here is we're dealing with the -1 value down here and the +1 up here. Everything's 0 at the center, and it's basically like this. And so if we take half an x here plus half a y here, that's why we hit 1. Anything higher than 1 is going to be white. Anything lower than 0 is going to be black. And so there's negative numbers down here, and that's why that's all black. So pretty basic. Now we're going to do something just a slight bit more interesting. We're going to take the x times the y, and that is going to give us this image. And not interesting again, but it's the foundation for what's going on here. One interesting thing to note, though, is that it does go positive down here, and that's because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I told you that it was going to be very basic, and it was. And here is actually how I created the intro. I just created some very simple calculations, like x divided by y divided by the absolute value of x divided by y, and just threw time into the mix. And I put those on the red, green, and blue channels, and that's how I came up with a kind of intro animation. Again, very basic, but hopefully we'll find some really cool stuff we can do when we get into some more advanced capabilities. Thanks for watching. Come explore with me again.